Good day, everyone. Meteorologist Mark Molnar here. Hope everybody's having a good weekend here. We're going to take a look at Tropical Storm Idalia here. Let's take a look at this storm as we go in time. The storm's kind of stalling at the moment, and it's going to continue to meander a little bit through the Northwest Caribbean and eventually head into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, where it could become a hurricane. We're going to take a look and see where landfall point could be and how bad the impacts could be with this storm. We're also going to look at Hurricane Franklin becoming a major hurricane, as well as the Western Pacific with our big typhoon, which could become a super Typhoon Saola here. Let's get into it. So we are looking at Tropical Storm Idalia here. That is basically just meandering just east of Cozumel and Cancun here. Yeah, this storm is going to meander for about the next 24 to 36 hours. Then it's going to continue to slowly chug towards the north as we head towards Monday at 5 p.m. You can see it getting its act together here, probably coming up to about 60-mile-per-hour winds by the 28th on Tuesday. And then we start to see this strengthen into a hurricane. You can see guidance taking it in line with Cape Coral here by the 29th at 8 p.m., strengthening to 85-mile-per-hour winds. It's a possibility this thing could go over guidance and go into a Category 2. So that is quite possible, maybe 100-mile-per-hour winds. I am a little concerned as the European now is wobbling a little bit east of guidance here by the 29th at 11 p.m. You see the center of this hurricane literally just in line with Tampa here, putting the eastern eye wall from Tampa down to Cape Coral. So I'm a little concerned of this trend. That's why I've expanded my cone a little bit further to the southeast here. So I'm a little concerned if this does strengthen up a bit quicker, it could take the right turn a little bit quicker here. So this is something we're going to have to keep an eye on here as we continue in time. If you live further down the coast, stay tuned, because this is going to be a continuing developing situation, because this thing does not landfall until about Wednesday here. Wednesday the 30th, you see we have a 5 a.m. landfall. Now, the interesting thing is that's a little bit encouraging for you further south is it does wobble it back up a little bit towards this general area just north of Tampa, but still the eastern eye wall. It looks like it's coming into Tampa at this point, so this is something we got to keep an eye on. Cedar Key looks like where the center comes in according to this run, so, you know, it's been pretty consistent, but I am a little bit concerned about that wobble. Look how it does start to continue to accelerate towards the northeast. 11 a.m. on Wednesday, we're already up to Jacksonville, so once this thing comes inland, it's going to accelerate very rapidly here. So that means it's going to continue to keep a lot of its strength as it heads northeastward, but then you start to see it slow down just a tad here across the Carolinas, just enough for us to get some very heavy rainfall, maybe 8 to 12 inches. So I'm concerned about that. There will be lesser amounts here in Florida because of the forward speed initially, so that is good news. You're still going to get some heavy rains across Florida as well. I'm going to go over those rainfall amounts momentarily. But take a look at this, yeah. As we get into the middle of the week, latter part of the week, it looks like the European model taking this a bit further to the south now. Bermuda, is this in the cone of uncertainty now as we go in the future? Possibly, yeah. It looks like this storm might take a direct hit here on Bermuda, so that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on here. And before we switch over to the GFS run, I wanted to show you something that was interesting. Many of you have been wondering if Idalia is going to make a run up the U.S. East Coast. Well, at this point on the European model, high pressure is lagging a little bit back behind here, the Great Lakes. Here's that trough of low pressure that's helping pull this up to the northeast here on the European model. And as we continue to go in time here, that high pressure builds into the northeast. So as you can see, literally as this storm moves to the east-northeast, this high pressure cell back across Michigan here is expanding towards the east. So that's acting to block the storm to the north and a deflected east. Now, that is going to keep a pressure gradient here. So I would not be surprised to have a lot of waves and a lot of wind action here across the mid-Atlantic as we head throughout the middle to later portion of the week. So as we take a look at Hurricane Franklin, yeah, this storm's going to become a major hurricane as we continue in time. So by Monday evening, let's just zoom out here. It gives you a good perspective. This system going to be really blasting into a major Category 4 hurricane. How close is this going to get to Bermuda? It's going to get very uncomfortably close. In fact, here is St. George's on the island of Bermuda, St. George's here. So what are we looking at for impacts? Yeah, this is going to be on the eastern side of the storm. So I think you're going to see some hurricane impacts. Definitely tropical storm, but maybe some hurricane impacts. Batten down the hatches there in Bermuda. I'm a little concerned as that wobble continues to the east. These stronger storms do tend to do that. And look at how close in proximity these two hurricanes become by about September 1st here. So that's going to be really interesting to have two hurricanes out here in the Atlantic potentially interacting with each other. Is Idalia here behind it going to push Franklin towards Newfoundland? That's going to be an interesting development here that we're going to have to keep an eye on. And we do have, many of you are asking, is there anything else out here in the tropics? Well, we do have an area that's 20% chance. Let's just take a look at that European model, and then we'll take a look at the GFS momentarily. So I've been showing you the European model here. And yeah, as we continue, let's get a timestamp on this, by the way. It's September 1st. So here's our initialized system potentially becoming maybe a depression by then. And as we continue to go out here in time, yeah, the European is strengthening and it taking up here in the direction of the Azores. We do have another system south of it, though, that we're going to have to keep an eye on. So things are really going to start lining up. Here's the last frame of it. This is far enough south that this could actually continue west. So this is something we're going to have to keep on our radar here. Anything else here across the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico behind Idalia? Not really. You can see, as we continue to go out in time, the rains from Idalia continue to pummel parts of the Cayman Islands, maybe some scattered showers over towards Jamaica. But then look at this, towards the 29th, we get some residual impacts here, some feeder bands, as Idalia heads up towards Florida. Look at this across Jamaica, some rainfall. That's some welcome rainfall for you in Jamaica, and that continues to dry out through the rest of the week here until about the 31st. You do start to get some scattered showers and thunder showers here in the Jamaica area as we get towards next weekend as well. Look at that, some real heavy downpours with the tropical waves and some tropical moisture by September 2nd. So comparing that European model I just showed you to the GFS, let's see what it does with Idalia here. Idalia continues to head towards the north here on the GFS. GFS has been a little bit west of guidance. However, it is starting to come in line more in the center of guidance now. So as you can see, forming that eye, it looks like. Let's get a timestamp on this. This is the 29th at 11 p.m. So Tuesday evening, you can see, look at this. Yeah, this is still heading northwest of guidance here towards the Panhandle. This is pretty interesting to see that the GFS is slowly coming around to the European model, but is still a tad bit to the north between Tallahassee and Perry here. So let's see as we continue in time. That's going to have implications on the GFS, still tracking inland here. The European model still tracking just off the coast. I think the GFS will slowly catch up here with the European model. GFS weakening it much quicker, as you can see, because of the inland track. As we take a look at Franklin here, take a look at this. Yeah, so Franklin with respect to Bermuda, this blasting up into a major hurricane, as you can see. Look at this. So yeah, this is going to become a major hurricane, Category 4 likely, weakening to possibly Category 3 just to the northwest of Bermuda. Now, the GFS taking it comfortably away from Bermuda. I am not so sure about that at this time. So you can see all the way up to the northeast here. Now, what is going on with the high-pressure system here to keep Idalia heading out to sea? Well, you can see the high-pressure system is pretty much showing in the same location as it was on the European model. So the GFS showing a double barrel low as well as the European model. So that keeps us in the know here that this probably is not going to make a beeline at this time for the Northeast. Things can change with the positioning of these high-pressure systems, but at this point, I can pretty much more than 50%, probably 60% assure you that this probably won't come up the East Coast. But I want you to stay tuned, because once the system makes landfall in Florida, then things can change. So I want you to keep an eye on this with me, and I'll keep you up to date throughout the week. So where is the core of the strongest winds going to follow here? Just on the eastern side as we get towards, here it is, the 29th. So you can see just offshore of Northport and Cape Coral. Yeah, this is going to be very close, but look at here, the worst of it heading right to almost where Tampa Bay starts here. So this is going to be very close. The worst of it continues to show up towards Cedar Key, towards the real early morning hours, 2 a.m. on the 30th on Wednesday. So that heads inland. And as we continue, the strongest winds remain on the east side. Could this actually regenerate back into a hurricane? It is quite possible by the 31st. So dry air here, thanks to tropicaltidbits.com. Look at this. So we have Idalia and Hurricane Franklin as well. We're going to continue to watch lots of moisture here across the Western Caribbean, heading on into the Eastern Gulf. Franklin is essentially getting rid of all of its dry air, but look at out here. The tropical waves we have coming off the Cape Verde Islands are going to continue to battle this mid-layer dry air and dust in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. That's going to continue as we head throughout the week, August 29th into August 30th. As you can see, there's Idalia becoming a 987 millibar low, Franklin 959 millibars. But look at the surge of moisture coming off the Cape Verde Islands. We'll have to see if that can scour out some of this mid-layer dry air. Now, we see a surge of tropical moisture as the landfall of Idalia comes up into Florida and off the Carolinas. Look at all the way up into New England. We could have a tropical connection here. Franklin as well, rounding the bend here, and look at re-strengthening to 986 millibars here off the North Carolina coast. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Could this actually regenerate back into a hurricane? It is possible, and then head out towards Bermuda as well. These two storms kind of conglomerating and dancing around each other, but the common theme here is it's going to be a lot of dry air at mid-layers, but look at our tropical wave out here by September 5th. This is the one I was talking about that we may have to watch, because it could make its way all the way across the Atlantic here for the second week of September. So let's take a look at rainfall totals here out of what's going to become Hurricane Idalia here. Yeah, look at as we head through next week, we're going to see rainfall totals up here where the center, it looks to make landfall upwards of 6 to 8, maybe 10 inches locally higher. Now, as we head down the coastline here, you can see totals just offshore, upwards of 8 to 10 inches, but just right along shore, 3 to 6, maybe locally higher to 8. The forward motion is going to remain rather robust once it reaches the Eastern Gulf. So thankfully, it's not going to stall around for too long. Here up here in the Carolinas, it's looking a little tiny more optimistic as the center looks to track just off the coast. That's going to keep 3 to 6 inches along the coast, 3 inches inland, 2 to 3 inches inland. Further to the northwest, 1.5 to 2.5 inches. So yeah, you could see locally higher. Some locations will see upwards of 10 inches locally, but it's not going to be like widespread 10 to 15 like we originally thought. Now, as we head to the Caribbean here, take a look at this. So what's Idalia going to do here with rainfall? Cayman Islands look to pick up another 50, 45 to as much as 60 millimeters. That's another 2.5 inches. Jamaica, you're going to see additional rainfall as we head through next week. Look at that. Later in the week, we rack up about 40 to 60 millimeters. That's on the order of 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rainfall. So, yeah, the big story is going to continue to be Idalia here, heading towards Florida. But look at the western tip of Cuba as well, getting upwards of 150, 200 millimeters. That's going to be on the order of, about 6 to 12 inches of rainfall. And as we head here towards the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, it looks really dry, actually, through the middle of the week until we get to about Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday of next week. We do start to see increased moisture here, upwards of 60 to 80 millimeters, probably about 2 to 3 inches. Here in Puerto Rico, lesser amounts, 35 to 50 millimeters. That's going to work out to about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. So not too bad here across the eastern part of the Caribbean. So if we take a look at the Eastern Pacific, we are looking at Tropical Storm Irwin. This storm is not expected to become a hurricane, but after it becomes a remnant low after September 2nd, it could actually impact parts of the Hawaiian Islands. as we head towards, say, September 6th and 7th. This is the last frame, but eventually, you know, the showers could make it to Hawaii. Now, let's get over here to Typhoon Saola. This storm, I'm sure the Philippines here is going to be happy once this storm has pulled away, because this storm has been way too close to you in the northern Philippines for far too long. 145 mile per hour winds. This is expected to peak at 155 mile per hour on Tuesday. That's a super typhoon. So this is once again going to become very close to the northern Philippines and eventually Taiwan as we head towards the 30th into, there it is, the 30th. So the center now keeping it offshore on the European model. That is great news, but there's still going to be effects here on the northeast side of this system. Eventually, the system will make a full impact in China as a weaker typhoon, but still, you know, 100, 110 miles per hour. So that is a very big concern here. There's the landfall point here into China. Now, last video, I know some of you have said that I had implied that Taiwan was part of China simply because I just separated the two by a comma on the lower banner of the screen. What I meant was that the first impact of this storm would be in Taiwan, and then the second impact would be in China. What I was not implying was Taiwan was part of China. I am aware that Taiwan is not part of China, and I'm hoping any of you that were potentially offended by that understand that I am fully aware of the sovereignty of Taiwan here. So there it is. There is what the impact parts are. And usually I separate by commas, but going forward, I will delineate between territories and countries here. So there it is. Saola, is there anything behind this system as we go in time here? So let's take a look. Yeah, there is a low pressure system here in the Philippine Sea, here in the Western Pacific, that we're going to have to keep an eye on through August 30th. Take a look at that. That system remains pretty weak, so that's good news. Look at the Philippines, though. We're going to continue to get a lot of tropical moisture. Look at towards Shanghai, though, as we get towards September 2nd here. Yeah, we could have a named system here. Could this actually become a typhoon? So that low pressure system that I was showing you that was really weak does spin up as we get towards the coastline there. Look at that. Yeah, so that is the last frame I'm going to leave you with here in the Western Pacific. Could this actually skip up along the China coast here and then head towards Korean Peninsula? It's quite possible. We'll keep an eye on it. We're also looking at Typhoon Saola here. This storm is going to continue to move towards the northeast away from Japan. So that is some really good news, getting caught up in the westerlies here. So let's take a look at our future radar here. You can see across the northeast for the rest of your weekend. It's looking mostly clear into the Ohio Valley as well. That is some great news. We're just going to get a good idea of where the storminess is going to be, and that is going to be, you can see into parts of eastern New England. Yeah, there's some scattered showers and thunderstorms that might crop up. But as you can see down here across the southeast, this is where the lion's share of the showers and thunderstorm activity. Some of these could really pack a punch across parts of the Carolinas, damaging wind, large hail, and some isolated tornadoes. Probably, flash flooding a threat, as well as a lot of lightning with these storms. Now, as you can see, as we head through 3 p.m. on the 28th, this is Monday. So look what's happening here across the northeast. Yeah, scattered showers and thunderstorms just in time for your Monday. Yeah, there it is, 8 a.m. on Monday. That is pivoting up towards the northeast. You can see a surge in moisture. As we head later on in the night, Monday night into early Tuesday, that kind of wanes a bit. But you can see the last frame here into the northeast. Scattered showers and thunder showers skipping up along the northeast coast here. And you can see right offshore here, actually you can see both our systems. Hurricane Franklin here, as well as Tropical Storm Idalia here. This storm showing up here very nicely and prominently as it heads. Looks like the mesoscale is taking this just west of guidance at this point. This is our last frame. I'll leave you with that because look at that. There's going to continue to be a surge of moisture here east of the Appalachians. And one last few frames here. Look at across northern Michigan as we head to the early morning hours of Tuesday. Yeah, we do have a front that's dropping down with some scattered showers and thunderstorms. This could be heading towards parts of the eastern Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Western New York and Western Pennsylvania as we head throughout Tuesday. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thanks for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Take a look at my Facebook page at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Hurricane Northeastern to follow the tropics. And if you want to hop over to my Twitter page, it's at Weather Eastern. It's MeteoMark.com. Thanks for joining me. Question or comment down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell notification button so you're alerted when a video comes out.